talk about the difference between rehabilitation counselors working in the public sector of the field and the private sector. Let's start with the public sector. So, as I mentioned in the previous video, Department of Rehabilitation, Veterans Administration, community colleges, four-year university settings, the Inland Regional Center right here in California, all of these agencies classify as public sector domains where rehabilitation counselors are employed and provide services to people with disabilities. In the private sector is divided into two aspects. You have one where you can have your own private practice, to where you serve as a forensic expert and work in conjecture with lawyers in order to determine if an individual with a disability can go back to work or not. So think workers' compensation. So if an individual is injured at work, and technically they would go to a workers' compensation lawyer, and then you, the rehabilitation counselor, is called to consult on the case in order to complete vocational evaluation of the individual and determine if the individual can go back to work or not. And so you tend to work in this aspect of the private sector, you tend to work with lawyers, you go into the court, provide your testimony, your professional opinion about whether the individual with a disability can go back to work or not, and then accordingly the lawyers and the judge decide on the compensation that the individual receives. Outside of that, the second aspect of private sector is working for tech companies like Amazon, Tesla, Microsoft. A lot of these tech companies tend to hire accommodation specialists, that is the terminology within the tech world, for rehabilitation counselors. So what that basically means is, again, you tend to work within the human resource department, you work within the disability management team, and but you are an accommodation specialist. And what that means is you decide about the amount of leave that employees with disabilities require in order to be able to heal, recover, or figure out job restructuring, job modification. So that's the other side of being part of the private rehab sector.